Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. My name is Tom Ollerton, and this is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads and discuss what's good and bad about them. So we are joined with some very special guests this week. But before we meet those guys, I'd just like to say thanks to our partners, Contagious, who helped choose the ad this week and every week. So thanks, guys. Keep the great ads coming. So before we see this week's ad, let's meet this week's guests.
I'm Liv. I am founder of DXN Consulting, and I'm also a digital strategist at Novartis.
Hi, I'm Mike Gold. I'm the Sales and Marketing Procurement Manager at Campbell Soup Company.
Hi, I'm Samantha Reader. I'm currently a self-employed marketing consultant, but I previously worked for Diageo for 20 years. My last role with Diageo was Marketing Director for Northern Europe.
What a fantastic panel. Right, let's see this week's ad.
Welcome to the first big game ad in the metaverse.
How's it a big game ad if it's not even in the same universe as the big game?
Well, relatable farmer, because we have a culturally relevant pop star. And majestic horses.
What do horses have to do with beer?
America! And to appeal to the masses, we added puppies, avocados from another country, aliens, a Miller Lite robot, explosions, overly dramatic music, and more talking animals.
Oh, this Miller Lite beer ocean tastes great!
And in a not-so-subtle attempt to get press, we'll launch this ad exclusively in the metaverse.
Wait, where are we?
Well, it's just like reality, but with worse graphics. Oh yeah, don't forget an iconic tagline.
All right, Samantha, what was your reaction to this when you saw it?
I get the fact that it's a parody, and I get that they are using certain symbols in an adult way. But I had a fundamental problem with it in terms of just guidelines for advertising for alcohol. So having a cartoon horse that drinks beer, having a robot that is, obviously the sort of character that could appear in a children's program. I mean, even using a format in animation that is usually associated with something that appeals to younger consumers, it all sort of raised quite a few red flags to me from a sort of regulatory perspective, and in terms of just being really careful about essentially social responsibility.
I thought it was slick in the sense that the metaverse is sort of a hot topic now. Everyone's talking about that. And it does seem like, okay, you're Miller Lite and you're talking about the metaverse, and all of the things that are going on with the metaverse in terms of NFTs aren't really your target audience. Those people are part of the push to premiumization within the alcohol industry. And this space, by sort of making that spoof and sort of talking about it in a joking manner, like, look how ridiculous all of this is, but we're doing it for publicity. And yes, we could do it in real life, because we've seen commercials in the Super Bowl that have had all sorts of CGI effects and Hollywood quality graphics, yet they're doing this in a place that, it doesn't look quite as professional in that respect. I completely agree that there's some red flags, but I think that the Super Bowl is one of those things where if your kids are watching it, they're probably watching it with adults. So obviously it's a teachable moment, an opportunity to divorce all of the symbolism and things you see that are cartoon oriented from what, your children are involved in. I mean, look, we watch things like South Park and Family Guy all the time. They're cartoons, but they're clearly for adults. So
I think what they've done is, the way that they've done it, the fact that there was no way they could ever get a TV spot at the Super Bowl because of the other brand deals. I really liked the way that they did this, because it was really clever. It was a way to grab the audience's attention and really compete with their, competitors, running the Super Bowl ads. But I do agree, there are certain things in it where you could question, is it right? Does that fit in with the brand guidelines? Is it the message that they want to be portraying? And it's definitely got them PR attention, and it's definitely got those ears pricked, but has it got people's attention the right way? I think that's probably going to be the bigger question here. So a lot of people have written about it. So it's got reports in Ad Age, The Drum, Ad Week, I think. So there's lots of different media articles on the internet talking about how this was a thing that they're doing. And they built up a big sort of PR campaign before the ad actually went live. And I think that's generated a lot of interest as well. They're actually saying that with the the metaverse company, which is Decentraland. It's actually turned out to be the best performing campaign they've had to date since they started. But of course, from a brand perspective with Miller Lite, it's just, is it the right attention that they want to be getting right now?
One thing I would call out from a brand perspective is that they, the commercial itself probably very well went after the people that Miller Lite wants to target, right? Like the whole thing about when it, like, why is the horse drinking beer? And they said, America, this is it's a very play on sort of like the working class American that sort of Miller Lite wants to go after. And that group of people is less concerned about a lot of the things around, is this going to be offensive to children? They're more of make fun of all the nonsense that goes on here. And that's why the spoof is explaining it to someone that's a farmer, right? A very rural, working class American that doesn't get all of this Decentraland, this, NFT nonsense that's going on. They just want to have a good time and drink good beer. So I think that in that way, that's what made it slick, is that they figured out a way to play that dichotomy. They got press in things that the people that they're targeting would never read.
So using the metaverse as a means is clever. Using the spoof is clever. Sort of parodying all of what other ad companies do during Super Bowl is clever and makes sense and is in line with all of the brand strategy. I just don't think they needed to veer into areas that potentially, there's a big responsibility being an alcohol producer to not do, and by the way, there are also laws in different countries around what you are and aren't allowed to do. No, it's digitally harder to probably enforce. But, puppies and horses, it could be misconstrued as using symbols that do appeal to people who are under legal drinking age. And I don't think it was necessary to make this ad work. I think the idea was sufficiently interesting, different, strong. I mean, whether it's right for their target consumer, whether it's more of a marketing rather than a consumer play in terms of cleverness, I think is probably open to some debate. I don't think they needed to go that far, would be my sort of stance. And there is a responsibility. That's all there is to it. If you're in that industry, there's a responsibility that everyone has.
I think in terms of like benchmarking how it performed, I would say I personally see it more as a PR stunt at the moment. But because no one else has really done this, we can't really see how it's performed against anyone else, because it is kind of the first of what could be a future of advertising, really.
Well, unfortunately, we have run out of time for this recording. So what I need you guys to do now is to vote. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
I'm doing 0 because I think it's against regulation.
First ever 0 we've had.
I mean, I think as an ad, it would be 4. But in terms of appropriateness, I'm going to have to give it a 0 just because I don't think they should have. So I'm sorry.
I didn't give it a 5 for that very reason, right? I do agree in some part that, yes, there's a responsibility for alcohol companies. So for that, I would say it's not a 5 because they towed the line a little too much, but it was good. It was good in doing what it tried to do.
Liv, Mike, Samantha, so much for joining us today. And we'll see you all next week.